Hello again, and welcome to another edition of Nick's Impromptu Reviews. I am Nick, and today I'm going to review For Sale by Gryphon Games, and created by Stefan Doris. Now, For Sale is, I guess you would say, I'd like to describe it as Monopoly in a box, okay? Because it does have to deal with real estate and it does have to deal with making money, but it's really streamlined and pretty much condensed into just a few minutes, okay? So basically, you're just, I guess, you're realtors, and just like anything, you're trying to like buy houses at the lowest price and trying to sell it for as much as you can. Well, I wouldn't say a realtor. You're more like a house flipper, okay? And that happens a lot here. So that's the basic idea. There's several properties, and you auction with your other players to bid for the best property at the lowest price, okay? And then the second part of the game, you go ahead and try to sell it for the highest amount possible, okay? Very simple, but is it fun? Let's find out. Okay, so there are two parts to this game, all right? And let me show you the first part. But before that, let's see how the setup goes. Setup is pretty easy. Pretty much, okay, this is a setup for a four-player game. And in a four-player setup, each player starts out with $14,000 in coins, okay? And in a 5 or 6 player game, I think the amount is less. I think it's like 14,000. But anyways, in a 3 or 4 player game, it's 18,000, okay? So this is a setup for a 4-player game. Now the first phase goes with these property cards, okay? And so you look at these properties, they're numbered and they have some kind of illustration like this. And the higher the number, the better the property. So here you have a houseboat, and then here you have a outhouse that's worth 2, all right? And they range from 1 through 30, 1 being the worst. And I think the 1 is a cardboard box, and 30 is the best, which is a space station, okay? So they range from 1 through 30, and the higher the number, the better the property, okay? So here's how the first phase goes. All right, first out, you deal out the number of property cards equal to the number of players. So in this case, we deal out 4 cards. Move that out of the way. Okay, and there's the cardboard box, okay? Let's put these right side up. All right. Okay, so let's, as you see, all right, so we have the lowest one, we have the cardboard box, and obviously that is not a good property. And you have a pretty low one, which is a doghouse. And you have a mid-range one, which is a log cabin. And then you have a nice Disneyland type castle, which is 28. And remember, 30 is the highest, so 28 is pretty high. Okay, so you start out, and according to the rules, you start out with the person who has the biggest house, okay? Whether you want to believe that or not, or just choose randomly, I guess it's okay. But let's say this player right here has the biggest house, so they'll bid. So they have to make a bid, since they're starting, of at least 1,000 or more, okay? But at least 1,000, okay? And they're on all the denominations are all the bids are in 1,000. You can't bet 1,500, okay? So let's say, all right, player 1 bids 1,000. Now, when you're bidding for the highest card, okay? All right, you're only bidding for the highest card. As for the lowest ones, I'll explain that later. But as of now, when you start off, you always bid for the highest card. Okay, so let's say player 1 bids $1,000, okay? And player 2 wants to top it and bid 2,000. Now you don't have to go necessarily increments of 1,000. You can bid 5,000 if you want, but as long as it's higher than the previous bid. All right, now let's say player 3 bids, I don't know, let's say player 3 bids 4,000, okay? All right, so now player 3 is in lead. Now, player 4, now when it comes to player 4, let's see, player 4 will say, you know what, it's too early, I don't want to bid too much on that. Actually, may not be a good move because that's the lowest one, but just to say, I'll take my chances. Okay, I'm not going to bid. So if you pass on bidding, what you do is you take the lowest card in there, and you take that, and you lose half of your bid. Now, since this person didn't bid anything, half of 0 is 0, so he basically gets a cardboard box for free. All right, so let's say on second thought, you know what, that might not be a good idea. I'll go ahead and bid 5. Okay, so player 4 bids 5. Now, it's this player's turn. All right, so now she's saying, oh man, now I have to bid 6 for that, which may not be a bad thing, but for just to show you how the gameplay works, is say that they pass, okay? So like I said, when they pass, they get the lowest one, and they lose half their bet rounding up. So their bid was 1,000. And, you know, since half of the 1,000 is 5, you know, rounded up, she'll just lose 1,000. Now, if she bid 2, if she bidded 2,000, she'll lose 1,000. So you lose half of your bid. Okay, let's go back here. And let's say, okay, you know what? All right, why don't I go ahead and bid 6? Okay, so now they're the highest bidder. And now it comes over here and says, you know what? That is way too much. I'm just going to cut my losses. And since the #1 box is out there, I'll go ahead and lose half my bet and get the lowest one. Okay? And usually this creates a domino effect. Now this person has to decide, is it worth outbidding that person right now, or just cut your losses? Okay, well, you know what, just say, I'll cut my losses. I'll lose half rounding now, half of 5 rounding now, that's 3. And I'll take the lowest one, which is 15. I guess it's not bad for 3. Okay? And now this person won the bet. Now, this person doesn't lose half. The winning bid has to pay the entire price. Okay, so well, they paid $6,000 for that thing, which is, I guess, not bad. All right. Okay, so that is the end of run around, and you do it again. Get into focus. There you go. All right, and you have a different variety right here. And let's say this is the next person. It goes clockwise. All right, you know what? I'll just take the 13 for free. So half is 0. This person bids 1, and so on and so on. Okay, and that is the first round, or not the first round, the first part of the game. Okay, so after you go through that first half of the game, getting all those properties, each player will have a hand of properties from their hands, and whatever money is left over. Sometimes you'll have no money left over, which is fine, but you'll have a handful of properties, and like I said, they range from 1 through 30. Okay, and the higher the better, basically. All right, so each player is going to have a handful of cards eventually. You're going to play all the properties that are in the game. Now, here is the selling part, or the flipping the house part. Okay, now this next stage, you're going to get out these check cards, and you're going to, just like before, you're going to place out as many cards as there are players. In this case, it's 4. Okay, all right, so here you have $14,000, $11,000, $12,000, another $14,000 check. Okay, so these things range from checks worth 0 to 15. Okay, so we have two pretty high ones, 2 14s, and I believe there is two cards each, depending on the number of players you have. But there's a maximum of 2 cards of each check. All right, so both 14s are here. You're not going to see any more 14s. You might be able to see 13s and 12s and even the high 15s, but right now all the 14s are on the floor. So what you're going to do, each player is going to secretly pick one, not randomly. I'm doing it randomly just to to speed things up, but you can choose which card you can get. Okay? All right, so you go ahead, you take one of your properties, place it face down in front of you, and then you all flip at the same time. Okay? And then what happens is that, okay, the person with the lowest value, that's an 8, that's an igloo, and we have a 6, which is a teepee. So the 6 gets the lowest check among here. So the lowest one is 11, and you know what? That is not bad at all to sell a teepee for 11,000. Okay, so 8, the igloo, second highest, so they get the 12, and the 2 highest, 18 and 21, they both get a $14 check or $14,000 check. Okay, all right. So you go ahead the next round. Oh, and by the way, the properties that you played before, they're discarded once you play them. Same thing. Go ahead, pick another card from the pile. Oops, let me put it face down. All right. Okay, and then they all flip at the same time. Let's see. Let me just put it right here so I know what. Okay. And, all right. Okay, so the lowest is the box. So they get the lowest one, which is 2,000. Hey, they at least got something for the box, right? And then you have the doghouse at 4, so that's the second highest check. 6,000 for a doghouse, not bad. And then you have 15 and 13. The 15 goes to the highest one. That goes to that. All right. And, yeah, you keep doing this until the deck runs out, just like the previous round. And you count up all the checks that you have acquired, including any money that you have left over from the the house buying part, and whoever has the most amount of money wins. Okay, so really that is the game in a box. Okay, that is the entire game. You go ahead, buy the properties at the lowest value, auction for them, and then try to sell them for the greatest amount possible. Okay, now it seems simple and it really doesn't seem that complex, but it is. Okay, and there's my magic formula for a good game: simplicity and depth, really. But the thing is, like bidding, there's a lot of involved in bidding. Okay, the beginners will like to bid one and just go 2, 3, 4, but the good ones will like bid 5 on certain occasions depending on the mix. And also trying to buy the house, trying to figure out what property is out there, what's left. Trying to sell the house requires a lot of skill too. But anyways, this game is surprisingly deep and incredibly simple. It really does belong in every game collector's collection. Highly recommended. Alright, so I guess from looking at the gameplay, it's not necessarily Monopoly in the box. I mean, there's a lot of things in Monopoly that are not in this game, like the chance cards, the community chest, the building, the little houses, the hotels, right, and all that stuff. But the reason why I say it's Monopoly in a box is because I'd rather play this than Monopoly. Okay, this game, it's so easy, and even though, okay, at first glance, when you look at the gameplay that I showed you, it looks simple, but it's really deep. Okay, it has there's a lot of depth, and it's real competitive. The auctions are an underrated aspect of this game. A lot of people, they'll bid like 1 at the start, but it's not a bad idea to bid high off the bat to make sure you don't get stuck with the lowest cards. And sometimes it's like you're bidding not to get the lowest card, like the cardboard box or the outhouse. Okay, so there's a lot of thinking going on. There's plenty of skill in this game, believe it or not, and yeah, it requires luck because it depends on the card you get. But trying to mitigate that is great, and trying to bid for the right cards is for the right amount. That requires some skill. This is a real elegant game. I really like this game. It's so simple, and you can teach it to anybody, really. And yeah, it may seem a little boring. The theme may seem boring, but play it a few times, and there's a lot of skills in this game. And for whatever reason, for the last few months, I'd say this has been the most played than any other game I've had. It's because it's like, okay, what do you guys want to do? What's something quick and what's something easy? Boom, for sale. I mean, it's if we don't know if we can't figure out what to play, boom, I break out for sale. It always works, okay? Because it's only 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah, and that's about right. It says 20 to 30 minutes. That's about right. And it scales real well between 3 to 6 players, okay? There's really no particular, I would say, player amount to have an optimal game. I think it works great equally between 3 to 6 players. Maybe in my opinion, 6 players is better because there's just more people around. But yeah, it's such an elegant game. All right, trying to buy the best property with the lowest value and trying to sell it for whatever. And yeah, it gets pretty competitive. All right, because let's say you have like the high value space station and you have the cardboard box in the same draw, right? Oh man, it's like I want to, I want to bid high for that, but then again, I don't want to get stuck with that cardboard box either. It really depends on the layout of the cards and everything. So, or maybe like there's like a draw where like you get the lowest ones, and you're saying, I don't care, I'll just put my lowest one out there. But you see, those are things you got to think of. But bottom line, excellent game, real elegant, real easy, fun for everyone. Highly recommended. Probably retails for $20, sometimes $15 to $10 if you get it online. But solid game. I highly recommend it. And for that, I will give For Sale an 8 out of 10. And like I said, it's the most frequently played game lately of mine. And everyone should have this game. It doesn't take up any space. Real small. All right, that is it. Until next time, I will see you all later. Goodbye.